Before you scroll past, I need you to stop. Right now, because what I am about to tell you isn't a general message. It was never meant for everyone. It was meant for the specific person who helped a stranger once. A moment that felt small, ordinary, forgettable, and never thought about it again. That moment wasn't small, that stranger wasn't random, and she has never forgotten you. What I am about to reveal is going to completely rewrite the way you understand that day, because that act of quiet, effortless kindness, the one you did without thinking, without expecting anything back, was not a coincidence. It was a convergence, and the person on the receiving end of it has known something about you ever since that you are only beginning to understand now. She knows who you are. She found out everything, and what she has been doing since that day is something that higher dimensions have been quietly orchestrating for longer than either of you has been alive. Stay until the end, because I am going to show you exactly what happened in that moment, what she experienced that you couldn't see, what she has been doing in the time since, and what is now being set in motion to bring you back together, consciously, permanently, and at exactly the right time. Write 777 in the comments right now if you have ever helped someone briefly and felt without any logical reason that the encounter was somehow more important than it looked. We are going to find out exactly why you were right. Let's go back. A few years ago, maybe 3, maybe 5. The exact number doesn't matter. What matters is the day itself. It was completely unremarkable on the surface. No cosmic warning, no dramatic music playing in the background of your life, no internal voice telling you that the universe was about to do something irreversible. You were just going about your day, tired, distracted, probably thinking about something entirely unrelated, when you encountered her. She needed something, it doesn't matter what. Maybe she was lost and you gave her directions. Maybe she dropped something and you picked it up. Maybe she was visibly overwhelmed in a public space and you asked if she was okay. Maybe she needed something so small that the average person would have kept walking without a second thought. And that is exactly what most people would have done. But you didn't. Not because you were trying to be impressive, not because you wanted something in return, not because it was a calculated move. You helped because that is simply who you are. A person whose first instinct, even on an exhausted Tuesday, is to extend a hand to someone who needs one, and in that moment from your side, it was over almost as soon as it began. You helped. She thanked you. You went on with your day, a small act of decency, barely a memory. But from her side, her entire reality collapsed. Here is what you need to understand about her. She isn't someone who moves through the world the way most people do. Since she was a child, she has been aware of something that most people would dismiss. A persistent, recurring vision of a specific person. Not a celebrity, not someone she had seen. Someone she hadn't met yet. Someone who kept appearing in her dreams with a clarity that made waking life feel blurry by comparison. When she was 8 years old, she would wake up crying from dreams she couldn't fully explain. In those dreams, there was always a figure, someone with a specific energy, a specific presence, arriving in a moment of vulnerability to offer help without being asked. When she was 14, she started drawing that face in the margins of her notebooks. Not from imagination, from memory. A face she had never seen in waking life but knew completely. Teachers thought she was distracted. She was actually documenting something when she was in her late teens. She sought out people who might understand what she was experiencing, spiritual guides, readers, people who work with energy. All of them, independently, told her the same thing. The person she kept seeing would come disguised as an ordinary moment. The recognition would be physical, instantaneous, unmistakable. She didn't fully believe it until the day she met you. The second you approached her, something happened that she had no framework for and no ability to control. Every cell in her body responded simultaneously. It wasn't attraction in any common sense of the word. It was recognition, deep, cellular, overwhelming recognition of a frequency she had been carrying an imprint of since childhood. Her hands trembled, not from nerves, from confirmation. Her heart shifted into a rhythm she had never felt before, not fast or synchronized, as if it had been slightly out of tune her whole life and had suddenly found the correct note. Time felt different. The sounds around her faded. Everything narrowed to a single focal point. You standing there doing something impossibly simple, being impossibly kind, looking exactly like every drawing she had ever made. She wanted to tell you everything right then. She wanted to say, "I know you. I have been waiting for you. You are the person I have been drawing since I was a child." But she didn't, because she is not reckless with something this important. She looked into your eyes for 3 seconds longer than was socially normal, hoping, desperately hoping, that you would feel it too, that you would pause, that something in you would recognize something in her. And then she let you walk away, but she never let go of what she now knew with absolute certainty. What happened in the days after that encounter is something that requires a particular kind of person to understand, someone who has ever felt a connection so significant that walking away from it without answers felt genuinely impossible. She didn't sleep for 3 days. She replayed every detail of those few minutes with the precision of someone whose life had just been reorganized around a single moment. The exact way your voice sounded, how you looked at her, not past her, not through her, but at her, like she was a person worth actually seeing, the particular quality of your energy, the way the interaction felt completely effortless, as if it had happened 1,000 times before. She went back to the place where you met. She walked the same streets. She stood in the same spot, not out of instability, out of the same instinct a scientist has when they witness something extraordinary and need to return to the site to understand what they saw. She followed every thread she could find, a brand on a piece of clothing, a passing mention of a neighborhood, a detail so small that anyone who wasn't actively paying attention would have missed it entirely. She followed each thread methodically, the way someone follows a map when they know exactly where they are trying to go but haven't been given the route. Eventually, she found you, not physically, digitally. When she saw your profile photo appear on her screen for the first time, she cried for 20 minutes, not from sadness, from the specific kind of release that comes when something you have been waiting years to confirm is finally, visibly, undeniably real. She started reading everything you had ever posted, watching how you engaged with people, observing the values embedded in your smallest decisions, and what she discovered over the months that followed didn't just confirm the initial recognition. It deepened it into something she hadn't anticipated. You were exactly who she had hoped you would be. She watched how you treated people who had nothing to offer you in return, the patience you extended to strangers, the integrity you maintained when no one was watching to applaud you, the quiet, consistent way you showed up for other people without making it about yourself. And then she found something that changed everything. Buried in your older content, something you had written years before the two of you ever crossed paths, was a description of the kind of connection you were looking for. You hadn't described appearance. You hadn't described status or compatibility on paper. You had described frequency. You had described what it would feel like to be with someone who could see you completely, without filters, without performance. Every single characteristic you wrote about was her. You had written a description of her before you knew she existed. When she read that, she didn't just cry. Something inside her shifted permanently, because now she had something she hadn't had before: bidirectional confirmation. It wasn't just that she had been dreaming of someone who turned out to be you. You had been reaching out, through words, through intention, through the frequency of your longing, toward someone who turned out to be her. Your souls had been in correspondence long before your bodies were in the same room. This is the part that surprises most people. She found you. She confirmed everything. She has known with absolute clarity for years that you are the person she has been waiting for. So why hasn't she simply walked up to you and said so? Because she understands something that takes enormous spiritual maturity to truly grasp. A connection of this magnitude cannot be forced into being before both people are ready for it. If she had appeared at the wrong moment, when you were still in the middle of healing something old, still carrying residue from a past relationship, still operating from a version of yourself that hadn't yet expanded enough to receive what she represents, she could have destroyed the very thing she has been protecting. She could see that you were in process, not broken. In process, you were still untangling certain patterns, still releasing certain beliefs, still moving through the kind of internal work that cannot be rushed or bypassed, only completed. And she knew something else. Part of you, the part shaped by past disappointments, still believed that real connection had to be difficult, that anything that came too easily couldn't be trusted, that love was something earned through suffering rather than arrived at through alignment. She could see that if she came to you while that belief was still running in the background, you would find a reason not to believe her. So she made a decision that only someone who truly loves you could make. She decided to wait, not passively, not reluctantly. She decided to use the time while you were living your life, working, growing, struggling, having ordinary Tuesdays. She was preparing for you. Not for a version of you, for you specifically, for the person she already knew you were, and the person she could see you becoming. She went into the deepest work of her life. Every wound she had carried from previous relationships, patterns of insecurity, fears of abandonment, reflexive self-protection. She confronted each one directly and dismantled it. Not because someone told her to, because she refused to bring unprocessed pain into a connection that deserved to begin clean. She worked on her capacity for genuine intimacy, for the kind of closeness that requires you to be completely visible, completely known, with nowhere to hide. Because she understood that you don't need someone who performs love, you need someone who is capable of it. She elevated everything about herself, not to be impressive, not to qualify for something she had to earn, but because she wanted to arrive at the moment of your reunion as the fullest possible version of who she is. She wanted to meet you as your equal in every way that matters. And while she was doing all of that, she was also working for you. Here is where this becomes something that the rational mind has to sit with for a moment. Do you remember certain moments in recent years when you felt an inexplicable impulse to keep going? When you had every logical reason to quit something, but something internal said not yet. That persistence had a source you weren't aware of. She was there, not physically, in the frequency, sending what she could send across the distance between where she was and where you were. Do you remember times when exactly the right thing appeared at exactly the right moment? A person, a piece of information, an opportunity that shouldn't have found you but did. She was working. Not through manipulation, through genuine love directed with intention. When she knew you were struggling, she sat in stillness and sent you what she had to give. And the dreams, the ones where you woke up feeling inexplicably at peace, as if someone had just told you something important that your conscious mind couldn't quite retrieve. Those weren't random. In sleep, the ordinary barriers between dimensions soften, and she has been using those spaces to keep the thread between you alive until the physical moment arrives. She told you, in those hours, that you weren't alone, that someone was holding space for you, that the connection you had stopped believing was possible was not only real but already secured, already existing, already waiting for the moment when both of you were ready to step into it. You don't remember the specific words, but your nervous system does. Something changed recently. 6 months ago, perhaps, maybe less, she received confirmation. Not a voice, not a literal sign, but a deep and unambiguous knowing that arrived during stillness, that the time was finally approaching, that both of you had done enough internal work, that the frequencies were close enough to alignment that conscious reunion was no longer a distant possibility, but an active process. And she began preparing differently. She started positioning herself in your life in ways you haven't consciously noticed yet. The new people who have appeared in your circle recently, the ones who feel unusually connected to you, like old friends you are meeting for the first time, there is a meaningful probability that she knows them. She has built genuine relationships with people who are genuinely in your life. She is building bridges carefully, one connection at a time. The places you have been drawn to recently, that you cannot fully explain the pull toward, may not be entirely coincidental. Places she has mentioned, reviewed, subtly made visible to people who would naturally recommend them to you. She is guiding you gently toward spaces where your timelines can finally intersect in the physical world. And she has been doing one more thing. Something that, when you truly understand it, may be the most striking demonstration of what it means to love someone from a place of complete selflessness. She has been releasing you from your past, not with jealousy, not with possession, with pure intention. She has been working energetically to sever the cords between you and the connections that no longer serve you. The residue of relationships that ended without full resolution, the emotional weight you still carry unconsciously from chapters that technically closed but never fully healed. She is clearing the path so that when you arrive at her, you arrive as someone who can give himself fully, not divided, not haunted, not half. Present because part of you is still standing in a room you should have left years ago. That is what love looks like when it isn't about need, when it isn't about possession or urgency or the anxiety of waiting, when it is simply and completely about the other person. How do you know any of this is real? How do you distinguish between a genuine signal and wishful thinking? Here are the signs. Pay attention to how many of these are already present in your life right now. The first sign is a recurring pull toward content about authentic human connection. Not surface-level romance, deep, rare, soul-level partnership. You find yourself drawn to stories about it. Songs about it interrupt you at unexpected moments. Articles appear in your feed. Films choose you. The theme repeats too often to be random. This is the morphogenetic field responding to a frequency that is being actively amplified near you. The second sign is a specific dream that keeps returning. You may not remember all the details, but there is a presence in it, feminine, familiar, warm, that you cannot identify consciously, but that your body recognizes as significant. You wake up from these dreams, not disturbed, but quiet, settled, as if you have just had a conversation you needed, but cannot transcribe. Pay attention to the consistent details, a quality of light, a tone of voice, a particular feeling in your chest. When you meet her physically, those details are going to hit you all at once and you are going to understand. The third sign is an inexplicable internal drive toward becoming better. Not for an external reason, not because of pressure from anyone around you, but from a pull that feels like it is coming from slightly ahead of you rather than from behind. You have been taking better care of your health, reading things that challenge you, moving towards stillness and reflection in ways that are genuinely out of character for the version of yourself from a few years ago. This isn't you making decisions in isolation. This is resonance. She is working on herself at the same pace, and something in you is matching her frequency. The fourth sign is that people around you have been mentioning a specific kind of woman in passing. In conversations you didn't invite from people who don't know each other, describing someone in ways that strike you as unusually resonant without your being able to say why. These mentions feel planted because they are. She is seeding the field, preparing the people around you to recognize her when she arrives. The fifth sign, and the most unmistakable, is that lately the memory of that original encounter has been returning, unprompted. You hadn't thought about it consciously in years, and suddenly it is there, surfacing with a strange weight. Your subconscious is finally surfacing what your soul registered immediately. That moment was a turning point, and you are now approaching the moment that completes it. If more than 3 of these are already true for you, write 777 in the comments. Because this message found you exactly when it was supposed to. Within the next 90 days, you are going to notice a dramatic increase in synchronicities around meaningful human encounters. Social invitations you would normally decline are going to feel different, like something in you knows attendance matters. Public spaces are going to call to you at specific hours without a logical reason you can identify. Don't override those impulses. They are coordinates. Within the next year, you will notice a particular name, a particular description, a particular woman being mentioned by multiple people in your life who have no connection to one another. Each mention will be unprompted. Each description will land in the same place inside you. The repetition is intentional. The universe is preparing your nervous system so that the moment of physical recognition doesn't overwhelm you completely. And then, at a moment you will not have predicted, in a space you may not have expected, during what may appear on the surface to be an entirely ordinary day, you are going to see her. It will not feel like meeting someone new. Your entire nervous system is going to respond before your mind has processed what is happening. Time will feel like it slows. Everything peripheral will blur. Your heart will shift into a rhythm you have felt once before. In those dreams, and you will recognize it immediately, she is going to look at you with eyes that have already said everything. She will not introduce herself the way people usually do. What she says in that moment will only make complete sense to someone who has been waiting as long as she has. Something like, "I didn't know if you had ever get here," or "I have been standing just out of your line of sight for a long time," or simply, "It is you." And in that instant, the entire architecture of your life is going to reveal itself differently. Every hard ending will show you what it was releasing you from. Every period of silence will reveal itself as preparation. Every synchronicity you couldn't explain will lock into place like the final piece of a structure you have been building without being able to see the blueprint. You will understand without needing it explained that nothing in your life was wasted. But here is the truth you need to hear before this ends. That encounter only arrives if you do your part. She has been doing hers without interruption, without complaint, without recognition. For years, she has healed things that most people refuse to look at. She has elevated herself, not once, but continuously, every single day, in preparation for a union she has never been able to prove was coming. Only feel she has loved you through the silence of complete anonymity. Now it is your turn. Keep working on yourself. Not because you are broken, because you are in process. And process requires your participation. Stay open to the possibility that the life you are living is moving towards something larger than the part of it you can currently see. Keep your frequency elevated, especially in the moments when life makes that difficult, especially when old programming tells you that something genuine cannot come without suffering. That is the belief she has been most carefully preparing you to release. You are not destined for the emotional loneliness you have carried. You are not someone for whom real connection is unavailable. You are not too much or not enough, or fundamentally misaligned with what you are looking for. You are the person who helped a stranger on an ordinary day without asking anything in return. And that act, quiet, effortless, entirely characteristic of who you are, set something in motion that neither logic nor coincidence can fully account for. She knows that. She has known it since the moment it happened. The only one still catching up is you. If this reached something real inside you, if something in your body responded before your mind had time to decide whether to believe it, write 777 in the comments. Let's see how many of us are in this exact moment of approach, standing just before the convergence point. Subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications. Because what I am going to show you next goes deeper. The specific energetic patterns that confirm your soulmate is actively working to reach you, and the one internal shift that determines whether the reunion happens in months or years. And right now, click on the video appearing on your screen. Because it covers the next phase of this story, what happens in the first conversation. why the recognition is mutual, even if she pretends otherwise, and how to ensure that when the moment finally comes, you don't let it walk past you again. She didn't, and neither should you.